All right, we'll call the meeting to order, please. All rise for the pledge. Somebody over here.
Wait.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, that was tricky.
I know, they go,
Eagles did. The VSO was here, so call us out on that. So.
We caught it. Next, we have the public comment period. Is anyone here that would like to speak? If not, I'll look for a motion to pass the county board meeting agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll move the county board agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Schmidt, second by Commissioner Bredesen. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. So, before we move forward here, Meeker County lost a former employee that was very near, dear to a lot of hearts. It's with heavy heart that we learned of the recent passing of Aaron Welch. Aaron worked as a dispatcher with the Meeker County Sheriff's Office for 12 years before recently taking a dispatch position with the Rochester PD. Aaron was dedicated and passionate about helping others, not only those calling for help, but with her co-workers as well. Rest in peace, Aaron. You will be missed by many. Please keep Aaron, her family, friends, and colleagues in your thoughts and prayers during this difficult time. All right, Andrew.
So we have our Veteran Service Officer, Tim Steiner, with us today. One of the things that is required of the position requires a formal appointment by the county board. The board, of course, approved the hire of Tim several meetings ago, but we wanted to wait until Tim was here to actually do this. So that's what we have in front of you today, is a resolution appointing him to the office of County Veteran Service Officer.
You didn't sell your house or anything yet, I hope. No.
Wait.
Kidding.
Nice intro.
Madam Chair, move to approve resolution appointing Timothy Steinert as the Veteran Service Officer for a 4-year period beginning on January 24th,
Okay,
2022.
your second.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Schmidt to appoint Tim Steinert as the Veteran Service Officer for a 4-year period beginning on January 24th. Any discussion?
I'd just like to say Tim was up in Eden Valley last night for the Legion meeting, and I think he passed the test up there. There was a little bit of abuse given. He seemed to take it pretty well. So just so he knows, there'll be more to come.
He hasn't been to Litchfield yet.
Like I said. And actually, as long as I got you here, I got a text later that night. They want to know if you'd be our speaker for our Memorial Day program. So you made a pretty good first impression. So.
Absolutely.
All right. Then my
That's
job
really
is
not
done.
fair.
That's,
Be making the round.
but I know how this works. I want to get first at the door.
So, any other discussion? He did get into Stearns County accidentally, so he does have some learning to do. Any other discussion? Corey, do you want to call the roll, please?
Absolutely. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Bredesen.
Yes.
Commissioner Schiefelbein.
Yeah.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes.
Commissioner Olberg.
Yes. Welcome. Good luck.
Thanks, Tim.
Very good.
Time to get to work.
That's what I like to see.
Yeah.
Okay, next we need a motion for the consent agenda. Anybody?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion
Okay,
to consent agenda.
your second?
I will second it.
Motion by Commissioner Schiefelbein, second by Commissioner Johnson. Any questions on any of this?
I had a question. Is Barb here? Barb, in the payables, I grab my note here quick. There was 2 things, but the state auditor, there was a bill in there for auditing. Was that?
That's the wrap up. we just had gotten our statements, and so it was about 30 days after, so I understand that was a wrap-up, because I saw final on it.
Okay.
If you want to question that, I can look over.
Yeah, I
Sure, it was a wrap-up.
just, stood out because it was state and I know we had switched and
Right.
is this final
Yeah,
from last?
It is final from
Okay,
last year
that's-
because
I was
the,
just curious.
Final.
the audit actually didn't get wrapped up until December, because we were waiting on the hospital to wrap up their audit, which was delayed because of the COVID dollars that came through.
Okay.
So, yeah, that,
Then I had a question on Phil's, on the flagpole that was in there, on CASA 25 for $4,000.
I didn't look at
I
that.
don't know if that was a bad day in a snowplow or what that was.
That would have been a real bad day.
A real bad
I
day.
didn't notice
I
that.
don't know,
I'll look
I
it up
just,
and
it stood out, I'm not picking on Phil in
Oh,
case it wasn't.
can I chime in? It's just
Absolutely.
dawning on me what that is. That was a snowplow that sheared off a power pole.
Wow.
Oh, okay, and that,
And it's an insurance claim, and so that came back.
okay,
So they paid the bill, but then
okay.
because it was a
I
claim,
thought
we
it
got.
says flagpole, I think.
I don't think that's what it is. It's a power pole.
Okay, gotcha.
And as long as Brian is here, I see the approval of the squad cars. Do you anticipate you'll be able to get those timely, or is this?
No.
We have no idea when we'll get them. They said maybe 9 months. So, I'll probably be coming back in a couple of months and asking for two that are not budgeted to try and make up for the difference. Cause we're looking at Chevys, but they're not available to buy right now. And they're a little quicker timeline, but we're not guaranteed that either, so. We're hoping we get them this year. We don't know.
But that price, unlike what we had a little situation with an implement we bought recently, this will be a lock price, right?
The lot price, yep.
Okay.
Once I call them after it's approved, that's the price we get. Yep.
Do we have the squad, I mean, did we get last year's squads or, you know, because, I mean, how far back are we
So,
backed up?
we didn't, in 2020, no, how does this work? In 2019, we did not get any squads. Our 19 squads came in 20, our 20 squads came in 21, so 2 years ago we're behind and now we're paying the price for that, so. we're-
Yeah, I knew we were lag, I just wasn't sure where we stood as of today. Okay. Nothing you
Nothing you can do. As long as we have that lock price, that's kind of the,
My other question was on this, to support rural development broadband. I'm understanding that's no money involved here. We're
yep, no money
We're
from us,
just
they're just
supporting
looking
their
for.
application.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Corey, do you wanna call the roll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Schiefelbein,
Yes.
Commissioner Bredesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
yes?
Commissioner Olberg.
Yes. Okay. Barb, please. Morning.
Barb Block, County Auditor. The item that I'm here for is to request approval to recruit a full-time auditor, recorder, technician, a shared position between our offices. Since 2019, this has been on our radar so that we could have a full-time person learn and assist with the duties of both departments. Money has been in the budget. Analysis was done by the auditor and recorder's office along with HR and admin a short time ago and determined that there are several areas where critical processes have little or no cross-training. This poses a risk in the event of a long-term absence. Due to the individual's workloads that we currently have, additional duties to adequately cross-train were not feasible. To do more cross-training, it would have been in complex areas and taking us away from the staff time that we have in the areas that we are working. Due to the nature of the unique tasks, such as elections, tax levy, and the accepting and submitting of documents and recording of those, change of ownership and et cetera, they're best addressed with hands-on experience. We're not real sure where we bring the adequate experience in on that, likely retail or somewhere. Legal office would be some of the options we've explored. The need for succession planning is extremely important, and it's a large factor in why we're asking for this position. It's in the best interest of our offices and of the county as a whole in our analysis.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the request to the recruit a full-time auditor, recorder, technician, specialist, level B23.
Motion by Commissioner Shifelbein, do I hear a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Second by Commissioner Schmidt, and I'm just curious, a couple things, one. Who will be, immediate supervisor to this person, Barb? You
Barb
know?
will be.
Okay. And they're gonna be learning everything in the office, I assume?
Correct. We anticipate the best start will be with the legal documents that come in. Those are critical to all the process as it goes through.
Does Pixie do that now, or who does
She
it?
does, I do,
Barb?
Barb Keeling does, so we all have different aspects of that acceptance process to be sure that once those recorded documents are in, that we have the best interests of our taxpayers and the title work in hand. So that would be, I think, our number one focus. The number two focus will be the daily things that have to be done in the event of a long-term absence.
And if you know, I never see anyone at the window anymore when I'm around you. That doesn't mean they're not there, because I don't spend a lot of time
We
here, but
receive a lot of documents electronically. It's just amazing how many, especially
much
with
more
the
than a
COVID.
couple years ago when we
Absolutely,
talked about this.
absolutely. And when we do receive those electronic documents, they come in packages, and so there's a lot of work that's being done, but it's not with someone in person there. Most of the offices here do not, holding them over anymore, unless they have like a special need, so we have almost all electronic.
And is this going to, Andrew, help in the passport process down the line here, do you think? or no?
Very possibly.
Those are my questions. Anybody else got
Yeah,
questions?
I was looking at the training and experience requirement of this particular position. And it says associate's degree or 2-year technical certificate and 3 years administrative support or related experience. Are you gonna, is that too tight? Is that going to reduce the number of potential candidates?
Mikkel?
It's definitely something that we can review as we get candidates in, and we might have to be flexible on some of it, but we'll
I
review.
thought the same thing when I read it
Yeah.
also, yeah.
Because, yes, you can teach this, but how much background experience are you really looking for?
Ideally, if we could bring someone in our vision and talking about the different pros and cons from a real estate or a legal assistant type, that would probably be ideal. Secondly, I'm not sure, we've had several different routes that we looked at. Just general office administration practice, that willingness to really dig in. So I think it's pretty open.
Okay.
But it is very technical with regard to legal and documents and those types of things. But super attention to detail, I think, is one of the things we talked about a lot.
And I think, you can find people without the degree that have had enough experience in the workplace that can probably,
Absolutely.
rather than, somebody right out of school that has had no experience. And those are things I'm assuming you weigh, Mikkel.
Right, it would be a combination of the two, experience and the degree, or vice versa.
I didn't chuckle, but I kinda did. This has been included the budget for 2020, 2021, and so maybe it's
My
time.
co-partner put that in there. I didn't, but I thought it was also, it was a reality, so I guess.
I know we've
it's part
tossed
of
it around a lot,
Yes.
so. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's the only thing that was kinda disappointing, is that we budgeted for it and we didn't advertise it.
I think, we used to do that a lot back, and we've kinda changed the
I
way
hope
we
so.
operate now.
'Cause
Right,
that-
Andrew?
correct.
We've changed the process, because that is something we used to do too often.
I'd hate to levy dollars and
I
then just
agree.
have it sit in a bank.
I agree with you, so. Anything else?
Not from me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
The second item I bring before you is an annual report. We collect this data, and in many years now, we have presented it to the board and to the public, which I think is important. Annually, the board is provided with details on the county levied funds, the collected funds, and then the balance of remaining unpaid at year end. For the year 2021, the percentage of uncollected is the lowest in the 10-year period that we have tracked it. This was apparent also in when we sent our delinquent notices out 2 weeks ago. In the quantity, it was slightly less. This report also shows a summary of the county fund balances. Additionally, this summary is of the county levy versus the collection in each settlement. and it gives you an idea when we collect our taxes and where our busy periods are. Here, the 4-year analysis is provided, and all years' tax unpaid in the county funds was also at the lowest in 4 years. So as you look at the report and the reporting that we have, 0.831% was uncollected. This is just on the county funds. The analysis, however, it would carry through to all if they're paying taxes, they're paying their entire balance or not. And then that compares to some of our highs and some of our lows on that particular report. The other report that we put together, and this is something that we share with the cities and their auditors all the time, so it's interesting that we do it with the county, and that is where we collect our taxes, what's available in the May settlement, what's available in October, and as it progresses through the year, that we note that in excess of 55 or 56% of our taxes are collected by the first half, and then how it falls into the October and November ag property, and then the cleanup in December. Take any questions on that report?
We eventually get all the taxes, it's just delayed.
Well, not quite all. Some form.
Little bit.
A little bit. We also started that process, and I was pleasantly surprised that, depending upon how that all shakes out, there were less that we had to bring into that awareness and work in the future to forfeit. So that was pleasing as well.
Okay, any other questions for Barb? Thank you, Barb. Greg is here. There you are, Greg. I was gonna say, Greg's not here yet.
Morning.
Good morning, Greg.
Schultz, Land Use Director. This morning I got a few items. I got a feedlot, 4 CUPs for landscaping on lake properties.
Your CUPs, any of them after the facts, are they all?
They're all legit, on time.
Right, very good.
So the first one we got is Ruby Dairy feedlot expansion. They're going to be expanding from 750 animal units to 1,496 animal units. They're going to be constructing a 118 by 336 freestall barn, 15 by 65 holding area, 68 by 68 milking parlor, a 20 by 68 tanker docking room, a 60 by 240 feed pad, 120 by 120 east feed pad, and a 1,625 gallon, 524 gallon runoff pond as part of this expansion. And this is straight east of the CUP we had approved on the first, about 1.5 miles down the road, same road. So this is in conjunction of it. The one on the first is calving farm will be for this operation. This one here will be is the milking operation.
So they're about doubling the number of animals they're gonna have.
Yep, they're gonna be milking, yes.
They've been in operation on that site for at least 10 years already.
Oh, yeah, they've been.
15
there for-
probably,
yep.
closer to 15 on that site.
There's been cattle on that property for, 20 or 30 years or something like that.
Yeah, but they,
Yeah.
Ruby or whatever has been there,
Ruby's
or
been there, yeah.
Becker's, so. Madam Chair, I'd move to approve an application for conditional use permit for Class C feedlot with a total capacity permitted of 1,496 animal units with the proposed conditions.
Motion by Commissioner Schmidt. Do I hear a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Schiefelbein. Any further discussion?
Was there any neighborhood disapproval for this?
No, there was not,
Okay.
Why,
which is,
Do they own it all?
but you stayed in there, wasn't the nearest residence 2,000?
Do they own all around it or what?
there's resident 2,000 feet.
That's your
to the
area,
south.
right?
So that's 700 over our ordinance anyway, so
1320 is the.
ordinance, yeah.
Oh, it's Paul.
I'm guessing that doesn't stop them from coming and complaining if they wanna complain though, so.
Yep.
But this is their second facility.
Obviously, they've probably got a
Oh,
reputation
okay.
for doing a pretty good job, so
Oh,
maybe.
I thought it was here.
Well, they're-
Okay, any other discussion?
Paul, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
CUP I have is for approval conditional use permit 15808 for property located at 67-8, 233rd Street, Darwin, and Lake Washington Shoreland District, and this is for a CUP for landscaping. Lakes are going to be moving more than 10 cubic yards of material in shore impact zone, and more than 50 cubic yards in the shoreland district. See the plan there on the right-hand side that they're planning on doing. New stairs, some boulder walls, riprap. Gonna remodel the boathouse, or that shed that's there, they'll redo that one.
Madam Chair, move to approve application for conditional use permit to move more than 10 cubic yards of material within the shore impact zone and 50 cubic yards of material in the shoreland district of the general development Lake Washington with the proposed conditions.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Bredesen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
None of these are-
Okay, next CUP I have is for Eckhoff, David Eckhoff. That is CUP 15805 for property located at 26,451 733rd Avenue, Dassel, Minnesota, Little Swan Lake Shoreland District. Mr. Eckhoff is planning to do landscaping as well as a new house and a new garage, replacing the existing cabin on the property. Basically, what he's going to be doing is for the development of this new house and garage, he's going to be moving the dirt he's moving for that forward and rear towards the road. He's kind of sloping it away from the property. He's going to be putting some rock terraces, as you can see, towards the lakeside to kind of slope that soil that he's going to be using for the construction of the new house. So,
Greg, what's the requirement on the impervious? How much do they have to, I see this one will have 22.7 left when it's done.
25% is the maximum without a variance. 25%.
So they got a variance for the difference? Because you're at 22.7 there.
They're at 22.7.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, I turned those two around.
25%, so they do not need a variance.
Okay.
Okay. Looking for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve application for the CUP to move more than 10 cubic yards of material within the shore impact zone and 50 cubic yards of material in the shoreland district of the recreational development Little Swan Lake with the proposed conditions.
Second, anyone?
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Schiefelbein, second by Commissioner Schmidt. Further discussion? I see there was a neighbor concerned about possible water runoff
Yes. the
towards their
neighbor to the
property.
north
Was that taken care of?
Yes, it was, by the Eckhoffs and I had conversed on that, and actually the runoff will go more towards the lake than the existing property is right now after this is sloped, after the construction.
So they were,
So they were okay with it.
Okay.
I questioned that too, but I also see here that a representative from the DNR approved it.
Yes, he did. Ethan Jensen did, yeah, and he looked at the property, so as long as the riprap is installed correctly and doesn't go into their jurisdiction, they're fine with what's going on with the property.
Good, okay, thank you.
any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Yes, for Gillard, for CUP 15806, property located at 19997 612th Avenue, Litchfield, Minnesota, Lake Minabelle Shoreland District. This is for landscaping, Lake Minabelle project. It's a new addition to an existing house on the property and landscaping. This is just for the landscaping. And Ethan had commented on this one as well, the DNR hydrologist, he has no issues with it, as long as they stay within the confines of the riprap lake. And of according to DNR specs.
You know, maybe I haven't noticed, but are we always getting opinions on Lakeshore from the DNR, or is that something?
We always send them a letter to get an opinion, whether we get an opinion or not is,
You know, cause I don't recall this many times that Ethan is. Okay. What's the board's wishes here?
Move to approve an application for a CUP to move more than 10 cubic yards of material within the shore impact zone and 50 cubic yards of material in the shoreline district of the general development Lake Minabelle with the proposed conditions.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Schmidt, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
last one on the item is a Burke Property, CUP 15807. Property located at 22443 670th Avenue, Destination Lake Stella Shoreline District. This is another landscape project. This cabin actually was built in 1918. It's been in the family's generations for 5 generations. So it's very close to the lake. It's only 21.5 feet away from the lake, but it's been there since 1918.
That road that runs there, everything's close to the lake, isn't it, Greg? All of it.
Those two, the Burks and the next one to the south are within 30 feet of the lake, and the rest of them kind of spread out, go back a little further, but they've been there established a long. Kind of a unique property. Can't even tell they're there from the road. There's a hill that goes up and slopes down to the lake. Don't even know they exist. So.
One of Phil's favorite snowplow routes.
Oh, I bet it is. Cause that's not much of a turnaround down on the end of that one, if I recall.
Yeah, when you get down to the very end of it, yeah, it's pretty small. Down to the Johnson property at the end of it.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve application for conditional use permit to move more than 10 cubic yards of material within shore impact zone and 50 cubic yards of material in the shoreline district of the recreational development of Lake Stella with the proposed conditions.
Motion by Commissioner Schmidt, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bredesen, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Greg,
Thank you. Have a good day.
too.
That little area he just described, is that your district?
I think so, and I think Darwin, I get a little confused on,
Well, we split Stella.
and I think some of that they're doing themselves.
Private.
We gave back to Darwin Township, some of the neighbors take care of it, et cetera. Mikhail Johnson,
Good
Human
morning.
Resources Coordinator, you're looking good today.
Thank you.
You always look good.
Oh, well, thank you. Today I have before you, 3 different resolutions to consider. So when we met at the work session in January, on January 25th, we discussed some of the concerns and challenges that the county is up against with the workforce shortages as well as retention concerns linked to those workforce shortages as well. So some of the options that we discussed and came up with were an employee referral program. So the employee referral program gives current employees the opportunity to have candidates apply and list them as a referral. And that referring employee then can receive $200 after the new hire completes 90 days of employment with the county. And then once that new hire successfully completes their probationary period, which is 12 months, then the referring employee will receive an additional $300. The nice thing about this type of program is that when they're coming into the county and they already know someone, generally onboarding with that employee is faster because they already have a network in place of people that they can go to and that they already know. So generally we have seen this type of research on this type of program that says that it is a positive program that helps with that.
Question on that.
Yes.
If Julie refers somebody, she's not entitled to the referral.
Correct. Usually
Okay.
that's, yeah.
Just because otherwise, if there's a motion, it needs to exclude the governing body of Meeker County. So, okay.
Just had to point that out.
Well, Julie, you
Just
were asking
Julie. It was
about it.
Just Julie.
No, she
I didn't ask about anybody else.
I think you should elaborate further on who else is excluded from that as well.
Guess this isn't something we've completely outlined yet.
So it's the Board of Commissioners, is who we've identified,
So it's just us not elected officials?
other elected officials.
It is other
Other
elected
elected
officials too.
Based upon the ETS opinion we received, elected officials are not employees of Meeker County, and so they're not held to the same.
Good, good. That clarifies that.
I thought of this when I was so we do not have a policy on families, and I'm not saying we should. Families working for us, so we can have a husband working in one department. So if they make a referral for a relative, that's fine too, I'm assuming. It's anybody but the elected, and I'm fine with that, I just questioned it. Okay.
What we would want to avoid is a supervisory relationship between the family members, so.
But we don't have that
It's not
we just
necessarily in
know.
writing, but it's
We
it's an
just
issue
know
that we
that's
will-
common sense, right? Okay. Okay. We're gonna do each one of these resolutions.
Yeah, I was gonna
individually.
ask how you wanted to
Okay.
do.
So I'll be looking for a motion for the first resolution.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the employee referral program resolution.
Your second,
Madam Chair, I'll second that motion.
discussion? Corey, you wanna call the roll, please?
Commissioner Schiefelbein,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Bredesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Oberg.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So the next one is the hiring incentive. So an option would be to provide hiring incentives as a solution for gaining additional candidates while we are posting for positions and hopefully being able to find qualified individuals to fill our open positions. So for the hiring incentive, newly hired full-time employees would receive $500 upon completion of 90 days of employment. Regular part-time employees would receive a prorated amount based on the anticipated requires of hours worked upon completion of 90 days of employment. And then, once they have completed that 12-month probation period, that same newly hired regular full-time employee would then be provided with an additional $500. And the newly hired regular part-time employee would then be provided with an additional prorated amount based on the average hours worked per week over the period of time between the two payments. So the thought behind this is to provide the county with additional solutions to increase our candidate pools for our open positions.
Remind me again, what is the length of the probation period?
12 months.
12 months.
The one question, is the 90 days, what's standard? I mean, that seems rather short to me. I mean, 120, 180 is what I'm more accustomed to, but I mean, I'm
So
just
the
asking.
90 days was a number that we came up with at the workshop or at the work session as a group. Initially, when we looked at it, it was upon hire and we wanted to push it out a little ways, and so that's why, 90 days is a number that we came up with as a group, so we could certainly adjust that.
That's my only question on that one, really is that,
One of the,
but, I mean, my daughter, the only reason I ask is my daughter is fell in that situation, it's usually like 180 or
yeah,
at least 4 months, and
one of the, which part of the reason why we split it into the two payments between
Yep.
initial and then
Yep.
further out, 12 months out. When we looked at the referral program, we wanted it to follow the same timelines as the hiring incentive. So it was 90 days for the referral. We wanted to do the same timeline here to administratively make it easier for payroll. We only have one tickler we need to have instead of multiple for the same person.
And how many vacant jobs do we have?
I don't know off the top of my head right now.
Just a ballpark.
And the sheriff's office has a couple openings for the same position. Sheriff, how many do you have for the same?
We
One that you can
now
think of
have
off the table.
5 openings, one in dispatch, one in the patrol, and 3 in the jail.
And then we'll have 4 others off the top of my head in different departments, so.
So potential 10, let's just call it 15, because we'll have other attrition before this year's over. Because we're proposing to run this for a 1-year period. Is that what it was?
Correct, yes. And what we've seen in the past is typically around 30 new hires are brought on each year. So 30 to 40 is, I think, what we should anticipate for the next year.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to table resolutions 12 and 13. I feel like we need to vet both of these resolutions a little more. I didn't think we had enough time and enough thought that went into the work session. I want to make sure we do this right. I've seen other counties have done less dollars overall, and they typically are a little more liberal in their fiscal responsibilities. And I feel like if we double that, what they've done, and they've actually in the cities have actually also have less incentives than we have, and they also had a twist on it that seemed kind of interesting, where they actually paid people a little more that actually had to be on the job, part of the COVID situation. I thought that was kind of interesting, that maybe that should be something addressed to also. And I just wanted to vet both those resolutions a little more as a group. I just want to get it done right. I want the best for employees, but I also want to look after Meeker County taxpayers in terms of how they will look at these resolutions, knowing that many of them had their jobs shut down and had to fight through the same situations in terms of hiring employees, et cetera. And I don't know how they would look upon this, where we are going to give incentives and COVID payments to county employees, where they were told by the government to shut down, and it actually hurt their bottom line. And I'm not saying I'm going to vote against these. I just want to have a little more time, maybe the next work session, where we could work out a few other things in terms of this and moving forward. So my motion is to table resolutions 12 and 13.
Motion by Commissioner Schiefelbein to table 12 and 13. Do we hear a second? Do we hear a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion?
I would, one reason I'll support that table, the motion to table, is we've also, since that work session on the 25th, we've had the email came out that county program aid could be coming out with, I think it was 292,000. That would go towards, to incentivize, I think, basically a lot, public safety, I think is what it was geared toward. I know there's also resolutions in place. And a lot of these dollars, we're gonna pay for these all out of, ARPA funds. And my concern, I'd like to, I guess vet is a good word for it. That if there are dollars that come out, that we, basically, I'm not opposed to the dollars, I wanna make sure we take them from the right places. Not that, it's election year, there's close to $10 billion in the state surplus that they are gonna issue some of that dollars out. Not that we're committing dollars through ARPA that later we're gonna get through county program aid, and then we've already spent these dollars and we can't recoup them. I know we've already approved 51,000, I believe it is, on the armor radios, and I know we need armor radios, and I understand all that. I just want to be clear that there's also legislation going through public safety that I presented in Alexandria in September, and I know that's a high priority through public safety. There's $120 million there, and I just want to make sure we're not committing dollars now, today, 12 months out, that then we hamstring ourselves in between there. So I would like further discussion on some of them issues, so we know. I'm supportive of employee retention and getting these dollars out there. I just wanna make sure we're taking them from the right places and putting them in the right places. And so I would support.
Are there any due dates as to when these funds need to be used or can be used?
They need to be appropriated by December 31st, 2024.
So, yeah, we've got time.
We have time. It's always good to talk things over. When would this be placed on our next work session agenda?
We could potentially put it on not potentially, we could put it on next week's
A
agenda.
week from
Yeah.
today?
Which I would have no problem with. I just feel like I would like it a little more vetted. That way we all have a little time to think about it. I just felt like there's a lot of things thrown on the work session that we had to think through, and I agreed with most of them. And it's just when you see these other counties come out with other programs and stuff, it kind of makes you think. And I know we're already gonna do the compensation study that will hopefully, make sure everybody's on the right market, so you don't have this problem of saying, we're getting paid $20 an hour to watch someone when they can get 30 welding, which, in my mind, it blows me away. I wouldn't want that job. Hopefully that compensation study would help alleviate some of that. And I just wanted, as a group of 5, that we could just vet this a little more, talk it out, and whatever happens, happens.
This money, is coming out of money that's federal money that we got, correct? And our immediate, our need for employment is immediate, correct? I don't think we have time to keep hashing this around. This money came from the federal government for this exact same thing, in my opinion. So I'm gonna vote no to, I'd like to get this settled today.
The question I have is, we're 9:15 with one agenda item left. Do we have time today? Do we have the data we need? Let's talk it out. Let's find out where we need to be, rather than push it to another meeting. Or is that not a good idea, or does some research have to be done? Because, like I said, we got one agenda item left, and that's Andrew's report.
I don't know. I think, for me, I have the information. We have a need for employment. We have an opportunity, and I wasn't gonna get in this discussion. I'm gonna go back over what we talked about. Very seldom do we have the opportunity to reward employees that have been with us for a while. And I appreciate those employees a lot, and I am not afraid to say that to my constituents or anything else. It isn't their levy money. It's money that we got for this exact purpose. There was plenty of businesses that struggled, absolutely. They also got a lot of money in PPP, rent payments. That's the way it should be. And this is our one opportunity to do this, and I need no more discussion about it. We need to get some positions filled here. And in light of what happened Saturday night, I feel it was alarming. That could have gone so much the other direction, and it's just time to get some more qualified employees, and in order to compete with the other counties, we're gonna have to do these kind of things. So I don't need any more discussion about it.
I have a couple others. I took my list from the 25th here, and some of the things I don't see, lateral pay, where is that included?
So there's a number of things that were included on that agenda that we're continuing to work on. As we said at the work session, we're gonna work on developing policies for, so we have to do some research on, find out how other policies are crafted and come back with that language. Those were things that were a little bit.
Lateral was one of
Lateral
them?
pay was one of them.
Yep.
The tuition reimbursement program.
Yep.
Student loan
Yep.
reimbursement program. Those are the ones that-
Internship?
Internships is gonna be included with the budget.
Okay. I'm going through my list here, and
Yep.
these items weren't in here.
Yeah, as you recall,
That's
there
part of
were,
the reason I'd like to have.
Because I think we decided that we had to have more discussion. These were things we could do more immediately, I thought. And
Yep.
the rest of the things took, am I right, Andrew?
correct, yeah, we had some short, medium, and long-term solutions, and the ones that were more the medium and long-term were the ones that we had to come back with, more research on the policy language for and bring that back at a later date.
Any other discussion about it? Do you wanna have more discussion about it, or?
I-
Do you have time?
Madam Chair, just to be clear, in both resolutions 12 and 13, it says employees. And if, for the hiring incentive, that would only be applying to the positions of the sheriff, county attorney, treasurer, and commissioners if they were to be appointed. So if there was a vacant position, appointed to those positions would be an employee for hiring incentive. And then as far as the premium pay, the electeds would be excluded based upon the definition of employees.
Right. Because elected are not included. So we have a motion and a second to table this for more discussion. Are we ready to vote on it or no?
I'd like the work session to work on it, then we can hash
Are we-
it, then it's done.
understand.
We're agreeing
Yeah.
that that's the date. I mean, that's one thing I would
I'm
like,
not, I'm
is
not,
that that's the
I'm,
drop dead date for this board. That if
we have a lot of,
discuss it on the
we're
work
canceling a
session-
work session coming in March now, I think.
We're gonna reschedule.
We're gonna reschedule it. We have remodeling coming up that we have to stay on track with, in my opinion. We have April, we have coming up a road tour, I believe.
Yeah, that's the one that we're gonna reschedule. April,
So-
we're gonna talk about remodeling, and then next week we have 3 agenda items in addition to this.
Okay, any more discussion about it? Julie, do you have questions?
I'm looking at my schedule here. Yeah. I'm good.
Do we vote on this just,
Yeah, you would vote on the motion to table.
so all in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so 3-2 motion, we will table it. Okay, thank you, Mikkel. County Administrator report.
Just 2 items for you. As you had alluded to just now, the March 22nd work session, we had planned, Phil and I had planned on doing a road tour, looking at some of the upcoming challenges and opportunities that the Public Works Department is gonna be facing. Since a couple of you are not gonna be available for that meeting, I wanted to look to reschedule it to either March 29th or April 12th, both of which would be a special meeting. And you could check your calendars, let me know if either of those dates work out well for you.
March 29th.
In regard to what we just addressed, will this issue come up now a week from today?
Correct.
And then would it be placed on the agenda when?
In March, probably March 1st, if we have resolution at the work session.
And I would hope that if somebody needs more information that hasn't been offered here, that would be here on the day, because this is an immediate need we have, so let's get it hashed out
Let's
and get
drop
done
that,
with it.
that's what I mean, next.
Well, we can't
next
vote
week
that
is-
day, Steve, we
No,
don't
I
vote
know,
at
but
work
we can,
sessions.
we can.
Are we gonna make it
Make
go
sure we-
back to
Well-
them now, or is it gonna be, I mean,
Well, I'm concerned about this
so am I.
because we could end up with a 2-2 vote if one of the commissioners would not be here and it's on the agenda.
There's another problem.
Brandy, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's 2-2, the motion fails, correct? If it's a tie motion, there's no one to break the tie?
That's under Robert's rules. You are
Right.
correct.
Why would there only be 4 here?
Because somebody hears, 2 of them are, people are going on vacation.
We could, at a later meeting, move to reconsider that motion, but that's,
I think discussion about retroactivity is more than appropriate to include in the resolution. If
So do I.
timelines is your
Yeah.
problem, retroactivity is appropriate, so I wouldn't rush a decision based on an absence. I would, if this is important to you.
So I hear March 29th is potentially not a good date, April 12th, would that work for everyone? To reschedule?
Or, so that's,
Schedule the
what are
March
we
20th.
rescheduling?
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah,
little lost here
we're
now.
rescheduling the work session from March 22nd, April 12th.
And then, so then we're not gonna vote on this till the next meeting
So,
in April.
If
If we're gonna vote on it.
No,
at
no,
all.
No, this is
no.
a separate,
This
this
is
is a separate meeting,
completely
separate meeting.
Okay, let's go back to when we're gonna have the work session on the discussion we just had.
That'll
about
be next week.
next
that will be
week.
next
And
week.
Julie won't be here
February-
next week. Are you gonna be?
No,
here?
it should
I'll be
be.
here for the work, that one.
Okay, and then we're gonna vote on it when?
And then if we have consensus at next week's meeting and you are all are ready to bring forward a resolution again, we could bring it forward at the March 1st meeting.
then Andrew Brandy, if Julie announces her location, because she plans on being on anyway, if she announces her location and it's public, even though may not be close, she would then be able to vote,
Yes, per the owner.
correct? Or am I wrong?
I thought that was only during emergency.
I wanna,
You can, MCIT just put out I just reviewed it for Julie.
That is how they're doing it. That, like, I was at a
think-
meeting last week and I had to announce I was gonna be in my office and that went on the website and then I could vote.
Yep, we would have to publish the location, have to be made publicly available, and then the individual can participate as part of the quorum and vote.
Is there any way we can vote on this during the work session if we carry this meeting over, or how does that work? Like
We could schedule the work session as a special regular meeting, and then we could do it then, but I have a sense that, the purpose of the work session is to vet out different ideas to allow us to come back with a more refined
Oh, so we're
resolution.
not gonna have an answer that day either.
We would have
Steve just
consensus.
said it was a drop dead date.
We-
no, I'm
Well,
looking at-
I wanna make sure that we as a board come in with that thinking, that this is.
Well, I wonder
we
what-
wanna get
Well,
Is everybody gonna provide what information they need then that we haven't had? Because I've got all the information I need. Paul, do you need more information?
But I do really truly believe that all 5 commissioners need to be a part of this vote,
So-
not 4
Can we make that an
or 3.
option for a week from today?
I think that we can recess this meeting like we've done other times and then, instead of adjourning and then reconvene. We've done that.
But we
Can we do
cannot,
that, Brandy?
we can't. We have to, in order to reconsider a motion that's already been voted on, we have to conduct at least one more item of business, and we don't have any items of business left on this one.
Okay,
So,
I'm not following that.
Oh, wait a minute.
I don't know if I agree with that.
If
but
No,
Julie
I'm
can
wrong.
announce where we're at, what-
I
And I
might.
wouldn't be-
I
if
don't
you
think I
recesses
agree.
the meeting, the meeting's not over.
Right.
She just put it in recess.
That's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't be presumptuous that someone's going to be providing their public location at the next meeting. I think that's a decision that needs to be made privately, because there might be a reason why you wouldn't wanna disclose your public location. So I think you need to be,
Yeah, I agree with
cautious
that.
about assuming that's something.
Well, I do
someone's
it
gonna
for
wanna
all the
do.
meetings that I Zoom in. I'm in my office, wherever.
It's a personal preference, and I haven't heard that.
Are you willing to do that or no?
Maybe we shouldn't put Julie on the spot instantly. She may
Well,
wanna
I-
discuss this
Julie-
with her husband.
Yeah, maybe, so.
Okay, I'm
Come
sorry.
home with no tractors on the farm anymore.
I just don't want this drug out and drug out. We have employees waiting for an answer here and they deserve an answer. And so so we're gonna, you guys want more, those of you that voted that you want more information, I request that you get your request in to whoever you have to go to get that information, that we have that information out here in the next work session, and that we will vote retroactively then. That's, would be my suggestion.
To have the option to vote a week from today.
No, you can't, because, I don't think we can vote a week from today unless we can recess here instead of adjourning and carry it over, but Paul
Or,
claims
or
we can't do
declare,
that.
or declare a special meeting.
Yeah, we
and
can
be done
have
with it.
next week be a special.
All right, I think we
regular
should do that then. Let's do a special meeting.
Will we be able to make a refined motion if we did change anything in terms of these resolutions in that short turnaround or not? That's what I only have the problem with. And there's a part of me that also says that once we go through the work session, if I know I am outvoted and Julie is on a different side, I can also abstain my vote. I'm not trying to push this through to delay 1 month time period for the employees. I'm just trying to come to a good conclusion that I feel like all 5 of us are acceptable to this.
So the benefit of having the work session is that we can talk about things more broadly and then come back with that refined resolution that identifies the exact language. If we do it on the day of, just like we would have had to today, we would have to amend the resolution as it sits there and basically craft the language as a group while we are in the meeting. So that's where it becomes a little bit more challenging to do it that way. Certainly, if we know what direction it is that we want to go, then we can draft that resolution and bring it back. An option could be that we schedule the meeting for the 22nd, or I'm sorry, we keep the work session on the 22nd. We find another day next week where we can then have a special meeting to adopt this one specific item, or 2 items.
So,
Two items, yeah.
so here's my question.
Which I'd prefer that route myself if that's possible. Because I'd hate to have something rushed. I'd like to actually hash it out in the work session. I could have my piece. I wanna say it in the work session, cause I don't wanna put anybody on the spot in terms of what my ideas are in terms of it. But I felt like it was just a little too rushed in terms of we had a lot of things in that work session. And this is a big item in my mind. In
So
terms of
are
how
we
that.
talking about it's too much money? I mean, there's some basic things here. We're trying to get some people hired. I mean, we have time for some discussion, I guess. So in order to do a hiring bonus, obviously you have to do a retention bonus. If you're not gonna do, you're gonna not do one without the other, cause that wouldn't be fair. So is it the amount of money that you're not, I mean, I don't understand how any more discussion, the money is plain, the goal is obvious, we're having an employee shortage, and we have $4.1 million handed to us. That's exactly for this, so I struggle to find out what more answers we need. That's all I'm saying. I don't know, that was the answers that we were given, and I was fine with that, and I still am. That money was sent to us for some of those reasons. You know, some housing, we're getting different calls about different things, and I figured this is the opportunity, so I don't know what more discussion we can have. Do you wanna give them less money? Is it the time? I don't
I
know
would
what your
like to have a
questions are.
discussion to hash it out with
Well, I
five of
mean,
us.
so what is the discussion?
I
though?
felt like it was a little bit hard to have that work session that was really, properly talked about when you have, 4 department heads.
I think that's $100
I think
fine.
if, I
4
think
department heads here, and we have to say yes or no to employees, and
we're
I
probably
didn't
gonna
like the
have
way.
6 of them at the next work session, I'm
I don't,
just saying.
maybe, I don't care. At
Well,
least.
so you don't care then?
Well, I thought it would put a lot of pressure on us, and I thought we were in a no-win
Okay,
situation.
well, I'm not trying to, I'm just
There's
trying
a
to.
lot of things that I could go back retroactively and say, if we're talking about morale of the employees, that we could do things differently. I think compensation study is a huge, I think that'll make more a difference in terms of retention and incentive than anything else.
One thing,
I've always thought that, I've always said that from my first go part. Like I said, I'm not gonna go and say I'm gonna vote against this. In terms of this, I want it vetted a little more. I wanted to have a lot of this information out. Have you heard what other counties are doing? Maybe they have a better idea. I've heard where counties are putting 500 down and then saying, hey, if you had to come into work, we're gonna give you a little more. If you had to do it remotely, why should you get the same? If that's part of the COVID part of the piece,
I guess I just look at it differently. To me, it's a one-time for a year. It's a way to give bonuses to people that have stayed with us for years. We never have that opportunity. And I agree that we have to get our pay scale where it belongs, but I treat that separately. This is a separate thing to me.
Well, this is called retention and bonus,
Exactly.
incentive.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's not really, it will not help anything, I'm sure, in the county attorney's department, cause those attorneys they'll be leaving for 5 to
Well,
10,000.
I hope that it helps somebody in the sheriff's department,
Perhaps.
because a lot of them are doing that. That's our biggest.
That's why I would like
that's our
this vetted
biggest-
out, cause I think, when you're talking $20 an hour to watch a prisoner versus my niece getting $20 cash, there's something wrong.
I understand, Danny, but we're talking about two different things here. You're talking about a pay study, which we've all agreed we have to update our pay. Okay, this is a separate thing. It's not, you're treating them like they're all one. They're not. This is two separate things in my mind. This is a retention bonus and a hiring bonus to try to keep people and hire people. It's a one-time thing with federal funding that we have received. This job market is tough right now. And, even if we do a study, I don't know if we're gonna be competitive with somebody that can get $30 for welding. I know servers that get $80 an hour if you wanna do it. The fact of the matter is, government jobs used to be cherished, and they're not anymore, because private people are wanting different things. It isn't all about money. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew. It's ability to be off, it's ability to work from home, there's just different things. I bet you people change jobs more often now than, I've been at a job 34 years. Nobody does that anymore. And they just don't. So
But-
I look at them as two separate items.
but Madam Chair, we have a motion to table.
Right.
Move it to a work
Are you
session.
trying to tell me to shut up, Paul, because it's early?
Oh, I'm just saying.
Stay on task?
Motion passed to table it. That's what we need to do. Let's decide when it's gonna be discussed again.
But you also said we could discuss it right now. We
I
had
did,
a lot of
yes,
time, so
we
then when
do.
I try to discuss it, you're on me right away. Feeling a little bit.
I'm gonna make a comment here. The thing that I wanna look at is the proposed second $500 that, and I don't know how I can do this. This is part of what I want uncovered. I wanna give you what I want uncovered. Is that we don't earmark that specifically ARP dollars in case, and this could, see this happen in public health. I think there's gonna be dollars coming. I think, HHS, there'll be dollars coming. I can see it in public safety. And so if we get dollars specifically earmarked from the state, that we didn't handcuff ourselves with these dollars, you know what I mean, that we can
Yeah, so the,
fill them dollars, so I want that specified. Cause right
So
now,
you're
these
okay with-
dollars,
You're all right
I'm
with the
not-
dollars. You just wanna know where they're coming from.
I wanna make sure we don't, by projecting a year out, right now, this thing changes. Between January 25th and now, we got email. County program aid could come out with these more dollars, $300,000 more for public safety. So that we aren't committing ARPA dollars that now we can't get back because we already committed using them and.
I
and
guess
the
that goes
states
back to
fulfill-
what are the ARPA
backfill.
dollars for? I mean, I thought they were for things like this. so.
And I'm not, so that's what I'm saying, when you go out a year, that's like an eternity right now, so that we don't, yes, the dollars right now that we're gonna use, we know where they're coming from. But a year from now,
Right.
but if we have 3 other pots of dollars coming in, that covers 90% of our employees, and we can use them dollars in lieu of these dollars.
So that could be a simple word change in the
that be
resolution.
But I think
That's-
so.
if I may.
Yeah.
So, one of the big concerns I have is the eligible use of those dollars. Can we use those dollars for an expense like this?
And then if we can't, then
Exactly.
that's different.
Second piece
That's what
is,
I'm
we have
wanting.
certain things that we've identified as either budgeted in the current fiscal year for public safety expenditures. The armor radios is what you had mentioned. We haven't approved a contract on that yet, so those money, it's not obligated, it's just budgeted. As well as, there are other things that we've identified for the current fiscal year that could be shifted elsewhere if additional dollars come in. Third piece of it is, being that this second payment comes in 2023, we have to still budget for 2023. And so there is certainly an opportunity for us to go, as we go through the budget process, and identify where exactly do we want this to come from, where do we want other expenditures to come from, as we do with every single budget. What we do know is that ARP allows us to use these dollars for premium payments such as this. And so we have the authority to do it there. We don't necessarily know elsewhere how other funds are gonna come in. So what I would suggest is, because that payment isn't gonna come until after we've gone through our budget process, we look at it as part of the budget process when we know what these additional dollars are gonna be, if they come. And then we can make our decisions as we always do, as we go through there. We can always come back and, amend the resolution at a later date.
I just want that, that's what I mean, that's what I want, cause I do see dollars coming in multiple ways.
Oh, yeah,
from the state,
absolutely.
and
It certainly is looking like
I
that
don't
right
want
now.
us, we wouldn't
Well,
have
we
done
have-
that had we known that was, so when
'Cause,
you get out that far, you're,
Will we have this information a week from today? If
No.
we're so-
no.
No,
No,
whether they
We
come
need to
through,
have that in mind when we're making, that's what I'm,
but the ARP dollars are not confined to certain things now, right? Is that part of the new
There are still certain things that we
evolution of it?
There are still certain things we can't use the dollars for, but being that there's the $10 million deduction, standard deduction, call it, for revenue loss, it opens us up to be able to use it for governmental services, where we would have had to do the revenue loss calculation before. So it is much broader in what we can use it for than what we had anticipated 6 months ago.
Right, because I always had it thinking that this is our way to boost morale in terms of actually following through on our remodeling thing and going forward. So I never thought there would be a problem finding the reason to use those dollars, because you can also reduce your fund balance too. I mean, in term, not your fund balance, I'm sorry, your levies like we've done in the past.
This is not for me, doesn't change I just emailed Andrew 2 days ago, we need to move forward with our remodeling, that's just something that we need to do. We need to do the merit study, that's just something we need to do, the pay study. This is, for me, I'll repeat, this doesn't stop us from doing something else, in my mind. In other words, I think we do have to move ahead with the remodeling, I think we do have to move ahead with the pay study. I just think this is,
There's some of it, I'll be honest, there's some of it too that I do worry if we can do all these things in a Meeker County budget. I do worry about that.
like, for instance,
The remodeling,
well, no, we're probably
the
gonna.
pay, the compensation, and the bonus and retention plans.
This
All
is-
those things.
How much money are we talking about here? 200 and,
This one?
there's the amount of
It's
money.
196,440.
I mean, it's a one-shot deal and the money is here, so that's why I didn't have an issue with it. Otherwise, I may have, if it was something that was gonna be on our budget year after year after year, like the pay study, like the right?
Which will happen though,
That
and which
will,
will affect our bottom line.
absolutely.
And I'm
But we can't
anticipating,
keep that, we have to spend that money that we're getting from the, I'm getting phone calls from people about, did you really get $4 million? We need some, there's people that are gonna expect some help out of some of this money anyway, and I think we have to look at each individual thing as it comes in. Do you agree, Andrew?
Mhm.
Have you gotten any calls?
Yeah, I've gotten a couple.
And something else, on the last round, and I was not a commissioner, I sat in the audience, you were there also, Julie. A lot of those businesses that were affected were given money from the CARES Act.
They
We
were.
did help businesses and significantly, and I was treasurer for one of them, and I remember what an impact that money had. It basically
no, I,
over, so.
I totally agree, but it's just like, there's a part of me that just has a problem. I'm thinking, okay, you're a part commissioner and taking care of the employees, which is important, because that's part of your job. But there's also part, it's like going, if you're a taxpayer looking in, and the government had told you were shutting down, and then another government entity said, but we're gonna give all your employees bonuses and incentives. There's a part of me in my mind that's clicking, that's like going, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, there's.
I understand they gave money
Yep, they
to
did.
take care of the shutdown,
They did.
but no one wanted that.
No.
No, we didn't.
But people also who were shut out that were getting, I'm not against this, so let me be clear, that were getting unemployment, were getting a $300 a week bonus. They were making more than they were making at work.
I know.
So if citizens get upset about us giving our employees a well-deserved retention bonus for being here, and it goes by how long you've been here, or if people don't understand that safety has to be important to this community, and we are struggling in the or in the sheriff's department right now, in light of things that are happening, then I guess I'm sorry to hear that, but I stand on the fact that we need to start getting some employees. And I'm gonna tell you what keeps me up at night. When Brian said, I'm so worried about all having young patrol deputies. I mean, you're looking, and Brandy's having issues of finding help. And I just feel like this is a way to put up at least a Band-Aid on it to try to get some people. It's not a long-term answer. It's obviously not. We're gonna have to do the pay study. It's an appreciation thing. And I think everybody
It's a
within.
market thing.
And a
That's
market
what the mar-
thing,
it's what
it's
the
a
market-
market,
we're-
right,
we're
we have
behind
to
the market.
compete, I agree.
I mean, that's a market thing.
So,
It's what the market bears, you have to pay someday.
I've made some pretty conservative decisions and voted against things, but this is one thing to me that I just think it makes perfect sense.
To me, it was a fact, indirectly, it's not levy dollars.
No.
This was
It's,
ARP funds.
everything is
Yes,
tax dollars.
we're gonna have to pay for it, I mean, let's be honest. But it was one time where we had an opportunity to use this without having to levy to get it, or have it be a part of the levy. So I thought
I
it was
understand where
important.
both you're coming from. I'm just saying, I want a little more time to maybe refine it as a group. I just felt like it was too much. I didn't feel comfortable in that situation. I felt like it should have been vetted a little more in terms of how we go about it. Then with all Steve's comments, it's like that's another part of the equation that needs to be actually Yeah.
That's
Talk
my,
to
thing, is I
mean-
don't wanna have dollars that we're competing against ourselves for the same dollars.
But we don't even know when
We-
we get those dollars,
don't,
what they
but
can be used
that's
for,
why
so if we're gonna wait
I
that
wanna
long,
make sure that we,
there's no
we
sense to have a work
phrase this
session
and
next week.
framework this
But
flexible enough that we can have that discussion
But if
down the road.
So you're just, you may wanna change the way it's worded,
A little, yeah, I just wanna, or at least
so where it says,
Include a
Hammer it
little
out.
flexibility.
I'm not
in
like,
case
so
other
where it
dollars come in
says,
for HHS, we're able to supplement or
does it
whatever the
say in
word
these
is.
resolutions where the money is coming from?
On the
One
COVID
second.
premium
ARPA
pay,
was-
it does say American Rescue Plan 2021 authorizes the use of state and local fiscal recovery funds for premium payments for employees who performed work during the COVID-19 pandemic. What we can certainly do is.
Take that out?
No, I think we still need to include that. I think we can add a be it resolved that, prior to the issuance of the second payment, the county shall evaluate funding sources.
There you go.
And so, and that's
That's
what I
fine.
was getting at, just so we understand going in what some of the challenges with these dollars could be down the road. I mean, probably a good challenge, because there'd be more dollars available, but that we're not tied. We're not
So-
earmarked into one, we didn't pigeonhole ourselves.
But we don't know what those other dollars are
We
gonna be,
don't,
and this
but
money's gonna be
they're-
going
I'm
over
telling
in
you,
the
they're
next
coming.
year,
Oh, It's no
so.
different than buying a truck and then 2 weeks later they come out with a $3,000 rebate, you know?
So if,
That's-
so
They-
how would,
And we're
how would
saying a
you,
year.
been
how,
asking-
how would you reward that?
Prior,
That's what Steve
before,
basically
yeah.
said.
therefore, be it further resolved, prior to the issuance of the second payment, the county shall evaluate the source of funding through the upcoming 2023 budget process.
Well, and that
That would be what you need?
that helps. That's what I wanted to, I want this board to be aware more than anything. I mean,
Right.
And so we don't need to go back and redo a resolution, we don't need to go back and redo this.
So
or
if that would've reads that way, you won't have an issue with,
Unless there's something else somebody else got that,
Okay.
spurs further discussion.
alright, so, let's,
And I wanted to know where these other items that we talked about, where they were.
I
but they're
think we
gonna be
talked
part-
about,
Yep, we're still working through
I
those.
think at the
Okay,
work
that's-
session, we discussed that these were immediate that we could do and those other things. Because I think when we talk about, education reimbursement, we should do that for a while. I mean, that might become a part of our policy for
some of
5
these-
years, right? Where
I
this
think
other-
should be part of
Yeah,
personnel.
each of the items that we had discussed, we anticipate being permanent policies, and so.
Right, that's why we
The,
discussed.
yeah, the plan is to bring those forward, in spring. We're still in winter.
So, so we'll do a work session and then a special session. Can we do it as a special session?
If
so we can
you
vote?
would all like to do a special regular meet, we could either do it,
It's important we have the
later
full
next
board here,
week?
so, yeah, that'll be fine.
Not Thursday.
Not Friday.
I
Wait a minute.
don't know if you guys need legal counsel, but I don't know if I'll be available next week. is
I don't
fine
know if you would need to be.
For reviewing
If
resolutions.
you're going to Vegas or something, I think.
I'm working in the office and
I'm
I have
kidding, Brandy.
some high priority cases.
I get to argue with Rinky Noonan and the DNR on that
What do you have there for dates right now?
24th. Well, actually in the morning, that's 1 o'clock in St. Cloud.
Actually, I've got Thursday free too. Cause my UCAP doesn't start till 5:30 at night.
My calendar.
Thursday, the 24th?
I'm giving that one up next year,
Yes.
Danny.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
Oh, you know.
I have a meeting the 24th at 7:30 in the morning, but I can be done by 9. I will be done by 9.
You'll leave by 9?
If we have the work session a week from today, then we would have the special session on the 24th.
And then we'll have everything rewritten whatever way people prefer, whatever. Is that?
Somebody needs
That's
more,
fair.
yeah, if we need
I wanted to
more-
make sure everybody was there
Yep.
to vote, period, too.
Yep,
I
absolutely.
really did want more time as a group to talk about it, cause I have some,
Is there anything else that we can add to that so it isn't a one-item work session? I
Oh,
mean, we
no,
might
we
as
have
well
a
do some
very-
business.
We have a very hefty work session for next week already.
No, I mean the special.
The
For the
special?
24th?
Oh,
I mean,
well, I guess we could,
No, let's just do.
we could find something for
I
you guys
have
to talk
other
about.
things I
anyway.
need
Let's not
to.
get
Okay,
crazy, 'cause
okay.
I do have.
You have another
meetings
life?
by one.
I do.
Throw
The
throw
other
some
ones.
other-
Yeah, no, we'll do the two items, that we tabled for today. We'll plan those for a special meeting for
Okay.
next week.
And I think the best practice is to make sure the board is only putting, special items on.
I agree, and
Special
that's the only,
meetings.
That's true.
Want to keep that integrity of
Yep.
scheduling those.
okay.
So hit me with this again now, we've decided,
So next Tuesday, we'll bring this item back at the work session for further discussion.
and that's at 8:30 regular.
Be at 8:30. And then, next Thursday at 9 o'clock, we'll have a special meeting to, consider the resolutions.
Excellent.
So, I know we wanna end this, but here's my question. We can't vote on anything at the work session.
Correct, but I can get consensus from the
So
group,
if we
and
say
that'll help.
change some wording in a resolution or something, you'll have that ready by the
Or any-
20th.
yeah.
For Thursday, then Thursday we can vote.
I can bring forward the draft resolutions as they're written with the additional language that we discussed today. I'll have those in the packet for you.
All right,
Excellent,
everybody happy?
I think so.
Happy?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay,
Where were we here?
the
We were
other
on
item
you,
in my
Andrew.
report is, the,
Does it matter? No.
February 21st, next Monday, county's offices will be closed in observance of President's Day. And that concludes my report.
President's Day? I thought they stopped having those about 8, 10 years ago.
I think we still have presidents, I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so, monthly fund, no, Board of Commissioners Committee updates. Steve, would you like to start?
Yeah. We're on the third, I had a SECB legislative meeting. A lot of talk on 988 suicide prevention phone line, which is something new they're working on. That was the main, that's something you'll be hearing about more coming up through legislative action. We also had a Vets Council meeting that I attended with Tim, his first Vets Council meeting. Andrew was there as well. I think it, just a lot of groundwork, a lot of discussion, and getting Tim's feet wet. He was up at Eden Valley last night for a wild game feeding a Legion meeting, and I think he seems to be fitting in just real well and very personable and approachable person, so I'm confident that things will go well there. Friday the 4th, I had a AMC Public Safety Zoom, and there's been a lot of discussion there, and I'd butcher this if I tried to. I got a diagram written here, and I'm not sure I can follow through it, navigate through it again, but Commissioner Paul Snell was there, and there's talk about, and Brandy's gonna have to help me a little bit, the Juvenile Justice JJAC, Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative. They wanna move that from
Department of Corrections.
Department of Corrections to Public Safety. And it's a lot of this anti-police force, type movement. There's pretty heavy discussion on it. I don't feel that there's a lot of positive momentum to get it done. I think most people want it left where it is. That it has no part being in, the other one is Health and Human Services as well, the other area, and they're like, no, we don't want it in public safety, and it doesn't belong in public safety, and it doesn't belong in, HHS, so that's, let's extend the discussion on that. UCAP had a housing meeting in Eden Valley, that was on Monday the 7th. Talking about the city of Eden Valley applied for and was granted a housing revitalization and commercial business revitalization incentives for energy efficiency, upgrading efficient homes, things like that. Something that was out, probably 10 years ago they did one, or 15 years ago now. It's kind of the same type of program being promoted through UCAP, and actually the city of Eden Valley solicited UCAP to do the study, and that, I attended that. There's a significant amount of interest within the community on that.
So, not to interrupt you quickly, is the city of Eden Valley gonna do something to help UCAP build? Are they gonna,
Well, this is for just like putting in new windows and doors.
Oh,
and
so it's not about housing,
The
houses, new
housing-
houses, that's already going
Paul's
through.
gonna talk.
Well,
Oh, boy.
That's coming. I mean, that's still on the slate.
No, but I was just
they're gonna
wondering,
start the ones in Eden Valley this spring.
oh, they are?
That's the goal.
So what did Eden Valley, so I won't get off that then, I just wondering if Eden Valley actually did put in water, or
I don't know if they are or not.
you don't know?
Well, I don't know what lots they're selecting. I mean, I'm assuming I know which lots they're selecting, but on the Meeker side, cause there ain't too many empty ones, but there are lots with water and sewer up to them already. And
Okay,
Okay.
so then,
now we had the work session on the townships. You guys are all there. And I did have an emergency services board phone meeting on Saturday morning, actually at 10 o'clock. On executive board discussing some things that, amount of meetings, next gen, some of the meetings are duplicated through like next gen and 911 and trying to streamline that where we only have certain in-person meetings, maybe 3 or 4 a year. And then the other ones are virtual. One of the problems they're having is we're not getting enough interaction on virtual meetings. You know, they ask for questions and nobody says nothing because you can have your camera on. You know, so they wanted to go back to in-person. It's been 2 years. So that was on Saturday morning. I had that. And other than that, I'm here today.
Julie and I had a Zoom extension meeting, and so we had some new members on there. We're still looking for a horticulture person, or did you find someone yet? It was-
Interviews are Friday.
Interviews are Friday, so then we'll have a horticulture, crops, and livestock, hopefully coming soon for the 3 counties of Meeker, McLeod, and Wright, which is what we've been kinda shooting for. And that was I think there's a few other new board members too, but there wasn't a heck of a lot else to talk about. Maybe you can,
Is the crops, are they putting on like a nitrogen?
Yes.
I was given a
Yeah, I
whole
think
bunch of
so.
cards. to
Yeah,
give out
workshop.
They wanna have them come to the corn growers meeting too and talk a little bit.
oh, okay,
And, yeah, there was a workshop of some
Yep.
sort.
yep. And
That's
that's
that's allowed?
the
Who's
right
the
guy.
Wright County is crops?
Yep,
Okay.
Wright County's crops, yep. Well, that's where he was before, and now he's Wright, Meeker, and McLeod.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
the specialty is coming from,
Yep.
cause
Yep.
they specialize now, right? Meeker
Yep.
specializes.
Well, no,
in
no,
crop,
all 3 counties will have 3 specialists
But
that
They
rotate
they
around.
each,
I'm
yeah,
not
they
sure where the
move around,
horticulture,
but-
yeah, they'll,
but they're all, what's McLeod, what's Meeker's specialist?
Well,
I
right-
mean, horticulture or,
I don't think they select.
don't?
No,
Okay,
they
all right.
represent all 3 counties.
yeah,
and I just don't know where they reside, where they'll reside once the horticulture starts. I don't think we ever talked about that
No,
per
I
se,
don't know.
but it shouldn't matter, cause they're supposed to cover all 3 anyway.
yeah, I thought they just like, the crops person came from Wright.
No.
Meeker was,
Well, this is just brand new, so
Okay,
before,
so there's
before there
no-
was nothing.
Okay.
Before there was one person taking care of Meeker and McLeod,
yep,
and she was livestock, horticulture, and crops.
okay, and I thought, that's what I'm saying, I thought we were getting one from each county, kinda specializing in an area, and then they're just rotated through the 3 counties.
Essentially, you're right, except I just don't know where the horticulturist is gonna come from.
Okay,
They're,
All right.
they're gonna represent all 3 counties.
Yep,
yeah, yep, okay.
so, but Julie's on that committee. And then, and besides that, we had class and comm,
Oh,
yep.
when did we? I didn't even put
Well,
that-
Well,
auditor's job.
Oh,
didn't you?
after the,
for the,
that was after the.
yeah,
After the board
discussing the auditor's, job and pay, which, I'll be honest, I was shocked that it was in the books, in the budget, and it was the first time it was, put on. I was like going, no wonder why, there's a morale problem if you have a budgeted position that was never published.
Annie, do you think that, position you created there, pay-wise, is gonna attract some
That was the
potential
whole
succession
discussion,
candidates?
that was the whole discussion of class and comp, cause I was like going, if we're gonna have a succession type of person, cause some were arguing for a lower rate. I was like, if we're gonna have a succession scenario, we don't know for sure, cause it depends on the individual.
Sure.
But we better not start at a level lower,
Good.
otherwise you will not have anybody, because it's such a specialized thing. I mean, especially in Meeker.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be multitasked in different areas.
Your ditches
ditch and
voting,
that.
your,
But I think it was,
That's where the lateral pay will help,
hopefully so.
you know, hopefully, down the
I
road.
would think so. It's logical in my mind.
Then
It
you
should have
can,
been.
then you can attract talent, you know, based on talent.
But Andrew was saying you were already kind of using that lateral pay already.
Yeah, we don't have
Some
a formal
degree.
policy in place.
You just don't have a policy, but you're kind of using that.
Yeah, I mean, we had a position on the last meeting, I think on the first, that we brought someone at a higher step because of experience.
Right. So the lateral part of the piece is just have it formalized. Yeah. So they were kind of doing that, is what you told me, because
Oh, we've always done that. We, you know, they'd come, when I was on personnel, people have come before and said, you know, this person wants, you know.
yeah. That's the part I did was kind
They
of,
bargain with you, and personnel is always, normally it's before anyway, it always came to personnel to approve before it went to the board where they were gonna start, and we did that after our last compensation study. We thought it would solve the issue, but it never does, because you get people with more experience coming in, they want more money.
never, yeah.
Or sometimes they just want more vacation. I mean, they want.
that's why I called Andrew up, because I didn't quite understand. I was like, well, lateral should be in personnel a long time ago. And he's like, well, it actually
It has
is,
been,
but it's
yeah.
not ever been formalized, which makes sense to me.
Yep.
And that's it for the committees I was in. I will not be making the Woodland till Thursday.
Okay,
Too busy with the sale.
yeah, I suppose, huh, you got the big sale coming.
Yep.
Did you let them know?
Not yet. I don't think we got
we haven't
anything
got
like
the
our
information.
RSVP yet.
No.
So that's all I have.
Paul, or whoever,
Julie.
Julie?
You want me to go next? Okay. Well, on the first, we had our regular session. We were all here for that. And then that afternoon, Danny and I, he mentioned we're on that U of M extension. We heard reports from the 4-H program, crops, livestock. Regional director gave a report. I'm serving on the hiring committee for this horticulture educator position. That'll be completed now, we mentioned, this coming Friday. Barb, Locke, and I serve on that hiring committee. And we will be driving to Hutchinson for interviewing of those candidates this coming Friday, now the 18th.
And it is a 3/4.
Yeah,
Quarter
it's a
person.
75%
Yeah.
time position that will serve Meeker, McLeod, and Wright. Danny's going to be serving on the budget committee for the U of M extension, and I will serve on the Farm Family of the Year and the Personnel Committees. So those were divvied out during that meeting. Then on Wednesday, the 2nd, Paul and I are on the Aquatic Invasive Species Committee. We had that meeting. We discussed awarding the 2022 Watercraft Inspection and Decontamination Services contract. There were 2 bidders. The committee selected a company called Waterfront Restoration. They were the same company that had been hired last year, and they had favorable reviews. The committee also reviewed the list of grant dollars that have been awarded to each county lake association to help combat invasive species. We listened to an end-of-year report on statistics of how the battle is going on with invasive species. And even though the effort is, you know, it's a slow process, but we're trying to slow the spread. Then on Friday the 4th, I had a U of M extension horticulture position. We all met. We discussed the candidates. We picked those that we wanted to call for interviews. Tuesday the 8th, we had our work session with Wald Architects. Then that afternoon, we had our township meeting down in the basement. Barb, Phil, and Andrew gave presentations. All went well. And then now, the 18th will be the interviews. That's my report.
okay.
You're next.
Start out with ProWorks. We approved a budget of $1.9 million, estimating, and I say estimating because already we've seen fuel costs change, but would have given a net at the end of the year of $114,000. However, we have to have, the roof on the building here in Hutchinson is gonna need to be replaced. It is probably 30-some years old. So that is probably gonna gobble up any of that net income that may be generated by the end of the year. We did pay off all the vehicles that they have, which will save us about $5,000 in interest in this calendar year, so that's a good one. AIS, Julie took care of. Prime West, election of officers, Brent Olson will remain the chair. Committee appointments, Beth, you kept your committee appointment, correct, on finance?
Yes.
Yes. They had the financial report, of which we show a total liabilities and equity of $126,800.
How much?
126,884,838
Yeah, but not thousand.
million.
Million, yeah. I
Yes.
thought you said thousand. I was gonna say no.
But they also have to have, we have to remember that they have to have a statutory required net worth health system contingency reserve of $78 million. So out of that 126, 78 has always gotta be there as their thing. Then, we, in the lawsuit, we have requested with DHS, to have mediation. They do not have to say yes to that, and which would mean if they don't, and I don't know, they were kinda anticipating they probably
Well,
wouldn't.
and I think we take the step according to our attorney, because when you go to a judge, they're probably gonna say, have you been to mediation? And that way we avoid, does that make sense, Brandy? That step where, well, yeah, we wanted to, but they didn't, so.
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. So that's why we're doing it.
So, which would, and if they don't, then of course we'll move ahead with the lawsuit. I was down in Renville for judicial ditch number 1. We share this with Renville, McLeod, and ourselves. We have a very, very, very small corner of that. But we finished that, and we also consolidated JD 1, so there's no longer branches. It is all JD 1. So that move was taken. Then UCAP, I hate the time of their meetings. I like working on the stuff that they got going, but I hate that 5:30. But I did talk to Tiffany, and that's how I found out that they were moving forward this spring in Eden Valley, or the plan was. And the news to us was they hoped they could get rolling on it here in Litchfield this fall to start those 3 homes. So Minnesota Housing Finance Agency has said that if we can chisel out just a little bit more of that money, that they would be willing to commit to the additional funds it takes to make this project roll. So they've been doing all kinds of things. They've looked at homes that would be manufactured homes, because then we wouldn't be subject to the prevailing wage, except for the foundation in certain things. So they're looking to move around anything they can to get us into a position to get those 3 homes started. And we'll be looking, well, I'm hoping we'll be looking to get those rolling well before winter, so that if worst case scenario, they can build a shell and crawl into them this winter and finish building those homes. So that's kind of where that's at. Hospital, I'm just gonna let Beth, I brought the financials with me if you wanted them or didn't have them written down, but I'll
I
let
don't
you
have 'em.
report on that.
I'm assuming, Kurt will be here with those next month. The end of the year was good. What do you got, the bottom line there, 7,
Bottom
9
line
point?
was $9,672,000.
Did well. There's some Medicare clawback that we're not sure of yet in there,
Approximately 1.4
and then maybe Center
In
Care will
that
get,
number. That's
will come out of that.
what, yeah. it's
So it'd
in
be
that
like
number.
8.2.
it's in that number.
Yep.
But that includes, the pay raises we had to give to be competitive are included there, some end of the year things they did, it's all in there.
Did they do any bonuses, by the way?
They do.
They do,
They
they do,
always
do
do.
they wait until they see that their profit loss,
Yeah.
usually?
I mean, they usually have a pretty good idea. This year's, I think, was a little different, and we actually, because, you know, nursing is like, you know how that's going.
Yeah.
So, and with COVID, and So they do kinda, but we know as we go.
Do they
too.
do it proportionate of like their salaries, or do they do a flat thing? I was
They
just
do,
curious in terms of that.
I think they have, and I could be wrong, so, but I believe it's a cap, and then it goes kinda like we were talking about, how many years of service, et
Oh, okay,
cetera,
so
et
it's
cetera.
prorated that way?
Prorated that way, yeah.
I'm just
And
curious
then,
of what,
right, that's, I believe, how they did it.
you can answer it too. I just like to put you on the
He
spot.
probably
just for-
doesn't
I don't know how the.
I know. I knew you did.
I'm more than happy to say, I don't know, Dave.
Isn't that's
I
kinda
didn't
how
mean
I
to look for
understand.
you, and I'm sorry.
One of the things that was a little alarming yesterday, not alarming, they've been doing a good job, but we're probably never gonna go back, Dr. Deb was there and Dr. Bula, and we're probably never gonna get back to where we were with getting very ill patients out of our hospital. Because the bigger hospitals are now operating with fewer beds open. And our staff has had to take on things that they're not used to doing, and they're doing a great job, by the way. They've had to vent people and
Sometimes not even fully trained.
not, and
Still having to
learning
keep
on
them.
the fly.
On the job.
You know, and so as we go into this, you're gonna see that we have to have more experienced people. I mean, that's just, it's becoming, because everybody has changed the way they do business, including healthcare. That's just the way it is. So, that was kinda interesting,
Beth, if I may.
Sure.
One of the interesting things is how the hospital networks are taking care of the hospital networks and nothing else.
that's right.
So we could feed Centricare patients that we couldn't handle or were far too difficult, but we wouldn't have been able to send them to some other network because they wouldn't
have
take them,
taken 'em.
no room.
So if we wouldn't have had this connection with Centricare, we would have really had issues.
And if Hutchinson wouldn't have had their alliance with Health Partners, they would have had no place to go with them, so
How
it's,
does, one question I got, how does the Mayo ambulance service tie in? Is that a separate animal in itself?
Separate, it's separate. And I think, I'm not even gonna get into it.
Well,
How about, call Kurt, but I think that the ambulance service was, you know what I'm saying, sold to, cause we had a private ambulance service years ago in this town, did we not? I think. Right?
was it private or
Well,
was it?
Gold Cross was
Well,
before
whatever,
me.
yeah.
I don't know who was before Gold Cross.
Are you asking because
Well,
you're impressed
because
with their
they-
service? 'Cause
Well, yeah, actually,
Are ya?
basically, they've cut one, they had two ambulances.
Yeah.
And they've gone to one, I believe, and they're putting a heavy tax on other parts of the
Like
county.
everyone else. But I know
Watkins
before
ambulance is
COVID,
just
there was some discussion
small.
about doing the ambulance service differently, but everything now is just, you know. So they had a good year.
Shit goes the other way.
We have,
Watkins ambulance sat on the highway the other day for 14 hours. That ambulance, they couldn't move it once it was on scene.
well, that's scary
But I
because
mean,
in your time.
that ties up ambulance, that's heavily taxed already. So I mean, and I know that there's issues
Yep.
with Mayo and so, and I didn't know how they're,
Yeah.
I thought they were separate, but I
I
wasn't
don't know
sure,
as
so
much
I-
as I used to know about it, but they're separate, so. What was the other thing I was gonna say? So we
Kinda
have a new,
alarming.
is it a physician assistant coming?
Nurse practitioner.
Nurse practitioner coming, I think, this spring. We talked a little bit about freeing up some more housing, you know, you're looking, we're looking at needing people to come in and there's nowhere to live. It's becoming an issue with everyone, everyone, it's an issue, so it's something that at some point in time, we're gonna have to have a honest discussion about, because if there's nowhere to live, pretty soon they're going elsewhere.
So they get filled.
The sad thing is, there's over 70 vacant lots in Litchfield.
Yeah.
70, with infrastructure right next to them.
Somebody has to pick up and go with this at some point in time, and I think it has to start elsewhere, but that's my opinion. That's all on the hospital, unless you had something else, I guess.
How's the walk-in coming? Is it,
Oh, we've had some issues, we actually, our bottom line, we made a little money on it. Part of the problem has been staffing, because when there was issues in staffing, then they have to pull the people out of the, walk-in to go over to one of the clinics. So, but that's been kinda evening out a little bit, and, the goal someday is to be open, I think, on Saturdays too. But it all goes back to not having enough staff.
Staffing getting better then, or?
Well, I think that as people get, if we don't have as many out, then the people that were hired for the walk-in can stay in there, but when you have
With COVID
providers, yeah,
receding, it helps
yeah,
where they
I
can-
think so, yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, they're actively recruiting a surgeon, some docs, and of course, always actively
Yeah,
after
I would
nurses, I
imagine.
mean.
That's their
but-
MO, they have to.
Yep, so, but, they did a great job, and I think we were just very fortunate to have them here during COVID, so.
COVID numbers, I haven't seen, like, I mean, we've.
Yeah, but really.
It's a discussion we didn't have as much at the board meeting yesterday, because I think they're just COVID tired.
Yeah,
Cause at some point in time, you gotta move. I will say this, because of COVID last year, there was some doctors that took a hit in their pay, a substantial hit for some of them, and you'll never hear them complain about it, but it just came out in a conversation because of the way we had to operate and so there's that end of things too. It just isn't, and I think Dr. Deb said yesterday, medicine is just gonna have to change. We're gonna have to have honest discussions about elderly, there's just things we're gonna have to talk about, so.
So the patient days, which, for a month, 305 in August, 294 in September, 298 October, 380 in November, 353 in December. So,
And I don't think,
that's what I was wondering, I think we're, from
But we've
state
been-
numbers I've seen,
I haven't seen January, so.
I would imagine it's down.
fortunately, we haven't,
February would be like,
fortunately, we haven't had to stop any of the surgeries again.
that's,
That's a big
That's
deal.
a
You
big
used to
deal.
be able to look at that, profit and loss a few years ago before the pandemic and go, what happened? Dr. Tim was on vacation, or Dr. Walker was on vacation, and it would really hit your bottom line. But now, when that happens, we have other things making up for it,
9 million, that's like a big number though, isn't it, for them too?
Big number, but like I said, there's gonna be some medical, Medicare clawback in there, and I think some center care money in there, but it was a good year, and they worked hard and did a good job, so.
I think they average usually around 4%. This was a 10% year.
And I think the state average, for, hospitals like ours is probably 3.5 or 4, so
What was
we're
that,
always
10?
over the state
What was
average.
that 10% over year prior?
No,
You know what I mean?
that's- No, that's
You
the
had a
profit.
drop, so 10% is probably still only 5
No.
across the board, you know what I mean? From where you
No, I don't
were.
think
Oh, no, this would have been
This was just.
Okay, that's what I was.
Total blip here.
I think it's what you take the profit that, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
okay.
And
You
we
know, 9 million,
obviously,
it's a big number.
it's a big number, and we
No, But you know what I mean?
we have some
Yeah,
big
I get
expenses.
Percentage wise,
We have some equipment
What's the
expenses
percentage of-
coming up and things that are gonna cost a lot of money too.
The percentage is the difference between the revenue and the expenditures. So it's not comparing to previous years.
No, it's like in a restaurant, you grossed 65,000 and you lost, I don't know, 10. That's how it
Well, when you
works in a
graph it over
restaurant,
the course
but
of
the
the year.
hospital's different.
Yeah.
it's all relevant to.
Yeah. All right, so, and then, that's, any more on the hospital, I guess that's it. And then I also had finance, a hospital meeting, but we talked about the same thing, so I won't go over that again. And then I had supporting hands. We had a good year with visits, for 2021. Our cash balance is 1.6 million over that. And I was on Zoom and I said, in the interest of time, I'm not gonna bring up the discussion about how much is too much, and they just laugh, cause I bring it up every year, because, how much is too much, because, part of the issue there is, if you're gonna take some of that money back that the county's put in, and they have to go, it's TANF funds, so then you gotta figure out a way to get it back into TANF funds, so. They also, did a $550 a month option for anybody that opted out of their health insurance because they were covered somewhere else, which we discussed that for a couple years. And I was never really in favor of it. However, this year it was a unanimous vote that we do it. And, they've had 5 people opt out, and they've saved about $16,000 on their health, coverage for their employees. And then it has to be daycare or retirement, it has to be a before tax. You can't just say, no, just give me a check, it's gotta go for something pre-tax, so. I don't know if we ever talk about that as a county, I know insurance companies don't like it.
Yep.
Right, so that's why you never have the discussion, but if we're gonna be innovative in how we hire, we might have to have everything on the table, and maybe that's one of the things. I don't, like I said, I was against this for a long time, and they didn't really convince me, but I wasn't gonna win, so I'm like, okay.
Yeah, this year, I'm sorry, I had a conversation with our current broker about, and one of the concerns was you have to have a certain percentage in contract of employees participate in the group health plan. And if you're incentivizing people not to participate, are people gonna walk away? Do we drop below that percentage? That's the risk. As we're interviewing brokers this week, and then so we'll come back with a contract in the next couple of meetings on that, and then we can have conversations with that company about how we can make that work.
But of course, like these 5 employees have to bring a piece of paper that.
Of course.
They have to have proof that they have health insurance somewhere. They just can't opt out and not have any anywhere and then go get help somewhere, that is, so. Yeah. So, and then there was a lot of talk still about mental health. It's, it's an issue that's only getting worse because of the pandemic. And I think that's all. And I don't know if we talked about this last time, or was it the time before. Prime West is putting $1.5 million into long-term care because there is such a dire need. So they're gonna be meeting with, the long-term care agencies and trying to understand where's the best way they can help. I don't know how they're gonna do it, if they're gonna help try to subsidize some pay, whatever, but it's a mess. They're closing all over, especially, it's a mess, so.
Well, Kaisa going to take
Yeah,
CN?
Kaisa Olson is our, CHB director, and, she called me, or emailed me a couple weeks ago, and she said, don't get alarmed, but I'm gonna go for my CNA, and I'm gonna go on the weekends and work in long-term care and trying to, get some of her, other people to do it with her because they're so short. And I think she said yesterday that she's got 12 people that are also gonna take their CNA and do it. And Kaisa was, kind of director at Meeker Manor before, but, the fear is real. There's just no, which, that's also a reason with the rural health, with our hospital, we can have them in swing bed for up to so many weeks, and Medicare will pay that. If you're a private hospital, Medicare pays you a one-time thing, so, okay, you had my dad in the hospital for it's $1,000. That's all you're gonna get. If you can't get them out, you can't put them out on the street, you're still only gonna get the same amount of money. So it's really starting to affect private hospitals because there's nowhere to go with these people. For us, it's an advantage because of our rural health, critical access status, so. That's what I have. Anybody else have anything?
Your insurance brokers, is that gonna go through personnel then? Or does that do it as administration pick?
So we have a committee of myself, McKell, and Commissioner Johnson who are reviewing them, and then we're gonna bring forward a recommendation.
Gotcha.
To the full board to approve.
And
the
I think
contract.
that is kind of an administrative decision, don't you think?
I just was wondering what the procedure is in terms of it, and I was gonna ask if you were doing that.
We've never done it before, so
No,
it's
I know,
interesting.
I think we have 5 really good candidates.
Did the candidate from before okay. Were they surprised?
That one you stuck me with.
That we were going out.
The one you stuck me with, the insurance broker.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, anything else to come before the board? If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Schmidt, seconded by Commissioner Bredesen. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
I
So we're coming back next Tuesday, is that it?
The